Will it?
It will.
With all of our new toys?
With all of our new toys.
Looking legit.
This is our 2020 Polaris Ranger Crew 1000 single overhead cam. And it's been 1,000 miles since we changed the oil, so it's time to change it again. We're gonna go ahead and do that and the air filter right now. And so far I've been really impressed. Polaris did an awesome job making these machines easy to service. So we're gonna show you that. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll do that by me taking off my hat and putting on my glasses. Looks like the wind just barely picked up, so that'll add an element. First things first, we're gonna take the filler cap off. Set it down. I'm going to use a rag real quick. I'm going to carefully clean without dropping any contaminants inside. I'm going to clean around this grommet here, the sealing surface. Okay, that's ready when we need it next. Now we're going to get underneath and we are going to drain it. Okay, we got the drain pan underneath the machine. Haven't started the oil draining yet. What we need today is an air filter, a funnel, 3 quarts of oil. We're not going to use them all. A 3/8 drive with a number 6 Allen driver, the new oil filter with the copper washer, a filter wrench, some grease to help with the sealing surface on the air filter, and then some fresh oil also for the oil filter. Okay, that copper sealing washer fell off of there. That's good. Now I've got a rag with me here so I can dry up my hands. All right, while that's draining, we're going to start working on the oil filter. All right. Our oil filter is right down in here, but Polaris did a good job of keeping it accessible. And I do use a filter wrench, a small filter wrench, to help tighten it and loosen it off. Okay, now prior to completely loosening it, I'm going to put a rag down beneath it, because when you take that oil filter off, oil runs out and runs down the back of your engine. So I tuck this rag in here where it will catch a lot of that oil. Now I can back it off with my hand. Once it's off, I'm going to turn it upright so I lose as little oil as possible onto everything. There we go. Now I can pull the filter out through here, and I'm going to set it down on top of the drain pan. Okay. Next step is to get the new oil filter. I've got my copper washer there, so I'm not going to throw that away. They ask for you to put a little bit of oil, so I use clean oil, a little bit of oil on that sealing surface. Now I used to work at Jiffy Lube a long time ago, and that's what we did there as well as a practice. Okay, I've got my rag handy. I'm going to use a clean portion of this rag, and this is in the instructions, to carefully reach down in here and clean the sealing surface where this oil filter goes, excuse me, because it gets a little greasy, a little dirty, just because of where it is. So I clean as much of that off as I can. Now I take the new oil filter, stick it down in here carefully to make sure that no dirt touches the sealing surface of that filter. And now I'm going to spin it on by hand. And now I'm going to hand tight it as much as I can. And from there, I'm going to go about another probably half a turn. The manual calls for 3/4 of a turn. So there, that was about an 1/8. I've gone about 1/4. That feels snug enough. Okay, now I can grab my rag out of here, pull it out. That's going to be garbage. Next step, our oil is done draining. I can get underneath and close that up. So I'm going to grab the new copper washer. I'm going to take a rag with me under there. And my wrench and socket are still there, so we'll take care of this now. It looks like the wind was blowing a little bit under here. So what that did is that blew a little bit of oil around, so I'll need to clean that up. So I've got my drain plug. I'm going to clean up that drain plug. I'm also going to reach up in here with my rag and clean that sealing surface right there. Make sure there's no dirty oil or grime there in the way, because we need this to seal up well. I will also mention that during the last 1,000 miles, I never had to add any oil to this machine. That's a good sign that it'll go that full 1,000 miles without me having to add anything to it. So now I'm gonna put the drain plug back in and just do it by hand. I put that new copper sealing washer on there. All of these things are things that I got from the Polaris dealer. Stopped by this morning and told them I wanted an oil change kit, and they gave me everything necessary. Now I've got that ready to tighten up. Now you should tighten this up to 12 foot-pounds. So I don't put my hand out here at the end where all the power is on the wrench. I put it right in here close, snug it up. Oh, that was about 12 foot-pounds. All right. Now we're going to wipe off the oil that's around that drain plug, because it will collect dirt if you don't. And I'm going to wipe up just a little bit with this rag where some of the wind blew a little bit of oil around, and I'll clean the rest of that up later. Let's pull this drain plug out from underneath. So we're done underneath. Let's go up top. Now that we're up top, I have already cleaned this funnel out to make sure there's no dirt in it. And now we're going to add oil to the crankcase. I'm going to do that right here. Now this machine is going to take, I believe it's 2.5 quarts. Now I'm going to double check that. I want to make sure that this foil doesn't fall down inside. So this is the Polaris brand recommended oil for this machine. It's PS4 5W50 full synthetic. It's what the manual calls for. It's what the engineers want you to put in there, and I trust their judgment. So there's the first quart. All right, done. Second quart. I will note that the oil that came out of this machine was still a good color after 1,000 miles, or just over. All right, now I need to double check in the manual what the capacity is for this machine. I don't want to overfill it, so I'm going to crack open the manual and check that real quick before we continue. I just looked up in the owner's manual in the glove box that it is 2.5 quarts, the crankcase capacity, oil capacity on this machine. So I'm going to add a 1/2 quart now. Make sure that none of this foil falls down in there. One thing I wish, oh no, they've got it here. Polaris has this clear side so you can see how much you've put in. That makes it easy. I'm going to check and see if I've done a 1/2. Looks like I'm just under a 1/2. So add a little bit more in there. Check that again. Looks like I'm Almost there. There, that should be good. So now I can cap that one and save it. And I'm going to use my rag, because when I pull this up, it'll want to drip oil on the top of the motor. We can screw this in, tighten it down just how it's supposed to be. Okay, we'll have to start the machine in a minute and check the level. That's not hard to do. While we're at it, let's take care of that air filter. So, check out how easy it is. This might be the easiest air filter I've ever changed on a power sport. In fact, I would say it is. You've got those two clips. You've got these pieces that you push out. The lid comes off. And then I'll tap it out on the ground like this. Get some dirt out. Now you see this filter, just twist it a little bit, I found. It pops right off. We'll set that down. We've got the brand new filter here in the box from Polaris. These are not cheap, but at least they're easy to do. They've got a little bit of grease in here, but we want more grease to seal up that sealing surface. So I'm going to take a little bit on my finger like this, and I'm going to spread it right inside of here where it seals onto the intake tube. Just like that. Now, we'll stick it up in here, twist it, it pops on, the lid goes like this. Right there. Now make sure that tab and that tab are both popped on. Put this on. This one. And we are now done with that portion of the service. And I'm going to use my rag to clean up just a little bit the mess that I made right there with the grease on my finger, so you can see how easy that air filter is to do. Now the next step is I clean my fingers up. We're going to reset the service hours on the dash, on the display. I'll turn on the ignition. Then we'll hold the mode button down. It will show us the word options for about 3 seconds. And then I'm going to start toggling through the options till I get to service, and it will show the number of hours. You can actually change the number of hours. So here you can serve it. You can say, I want to go 90 hours because I'm in rougher or dustier conditions. But here where I drive in Arizona, I feel like 100 hours is fine. So I've reset it to 100 hours. I hold down mode again, and it kicks me out, and I've now reset the service hours on this machine. And our hope is that you can see just how user-friendly and let's call it owner maintenance friendly this machine is. So we have buttoned everything back up on the machine. We started it, ran it for a minute, we've turned it off. Now we can check the oil and make sure that it's at the right level. Let's do that right now. So there's a dipstick right down here. It's easy to get to. I can reach through, pull it out. You do want to watch your thumb and make sure you don't burn it on the exhaust. Let's see, I've got the dipstick right here. I'm going to pull it out, wipe it off one time with a clean rag, stick it back in. The instructions in the manual say to feed it all the way down till it seats, but not to lock the top. So I'm going to pull it back out, have a look, and I can see in the light that the oil level is right to the top of the oil range. And so that was perfect. Everything went exactly how we hoped it would. And I've got that locked down. This machine is now ready to go to Yellowstone, to St. Anthony Sand Dunes, wherever else we take it for the next 1,000 miles. And I want to say thank you to Polaris for making this machine easy to service. So as the owner of this 2020 Polaris Ranger Crew 1000 Premium, I want to thank Polaris sincerely for making this machine easy to service. You can see, you saw how fast that was and how easy that was. You don't have to take it to a dealer to get it serviced. If you have any mechanical ability at all, or even none, you can service this machine, and everything is accessible, it's easy to do, it's right in your face. And we kind of wish also, you know, here at the channel we have a General 1000, Polaris General 1000. We wish that it was a little easier to service, particularly getting to the oil filter. If you are interested in the Polaris Ranger 1000, the new single overhead cam model that we have, or if you're thinking you might buy one, or if you own one, we invite you to follow along our video series, ownership video series on this machine as we take it out and test it. We've put 2,000 miles on it now, and our next video is going to be a 2,000 mile review, kind of in-depth review of how the last year and 2,000 miles have been with this machine. Thanks for watching.